the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, yeah!
In 1776.
Right on!
The Continental Congress said that we were free. Said we had the right of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness.
There's a lot of history in Philadelphia. In fact, there's been a lot of important historical events that have happened in this entire state. Pennsylvania served as one of our most important hubs for spreading ideas and getting Americans all pumped up about overthrowing British rule. Then, the state thrived, saw some really bad times in the mid-1900s, and now is trying to recover from its economic decline. There's a lot of interesting history in Pennsylvania and some neat stuff that you probably didn't know too. We're going to look at all that stuff and even meet people who live in Pennsylvania. It's time for Cornerhouse Tales, Pennsylvania, the Rust Belt state. And now it's time for the history of Pennsylvania in 3 minutes or less. Way back a long time ago, before Pennsylvania was a state of economic ruin, it was actually a really pretty place. We can briefly talk about the early history of Pennsylvania, but the really interesting stuff happened in the late 1700s. At the time of European settlement here, the Native American population in present-day Pennsylvania was small and widely scattered. There were native tribes all over the place, but they were gathered along river valleys for the most part. Swedish explorers were the first European settlers in Pennsylvania, but then the Dutch came here right after that, and then Sweden and the Netherlands began to battle over land in this future colony. In 1650, the Dutch pretty much kicked Sweden out, but then in 1664, England came and kicked the Dutch out. Then in 1681, Charles II, King of England, signed a charter which gave all available remaining land in future Pennsylvania to a man named William Penn, because the King of England owed William Penn's dad a bunch of money. So that's cool. William Penn was given control over much of Pennsylvania by the English king to settle a debt. The area was called Pennsylvania. Penn, after William Penn, and Sylvania, which means woodlands in another language. There were a lot of woods in Pennsylvania back then. So William Penn was in charge of a new colony, everyone. He decided it would be home for the Quakers, who were Christians who wanted to flee England so they could practice their faith away from the constraints of English rule. Well, these Quakers made their way to the new colony of Pennsylvania, and William Penn set up his headquarters in a place called Philadelphia. Later on, the city would be a very important place. Things got interesting here. See, a lot of other colonies were complaining that the British were treating them poorly. So, all the leaders of the colonies gathered in Philadelphia to voice their concerns. They were like, the British won't let us do stuff. And other colonies were like, the British won't let us do stuff either. So all these leaders, people like George Washington, Patrick Henry, John Adams, Samuel Adams, and John Jay, met in secret, and they called it the Continental Congress. Here in Philadelphia, they decided they had had enough, and they even tried to get the British to back off. It didn't work, so in 1776, these important men regathered in Philadelphia and signed the most important document of all time, the Declaration of Independence. That document basically said, we're no longer colonies of England, we're all going to be independent states. Delaware signed it first, and Pennsylvania signed it second, and they decided Philadelphia would be the capital of these new 13 sovereign states. Lots of other important things happened in Philadelphia after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. In 1788, the U.S. Constitution was adopted and signed right here in Philadelphia. This is also where they kept the Liberty Bell. Philadelphia was also where Betsy Ross made the first ever U.S. flag. She did a pretty good job, huh, everyone? And that really happened. There's been a whole list of go-getters who came from Pennsylvania. People like Daniel Boone, Robert Fulton, and Bill Cosby. Who cares about that guy? But Benjamin Franklin was from here too. He studied electricity, and he invented a lot of stuff, like bifocals, musical instruments, and the stove.
Did you know the tasty cake was invented in Pennsylvania?
I did not know that, Mappy. I don't even know what a tasty cake is. But that means it's time for Pennsylvania Facts.
I like learning about facts.
Okay, so Pennsylvania has a lot of interesting facts, just like most states do. We're going to talk about some interesting Pennsylvania facts now. Sports is a big deal in this state. I mean, have you heard the language coming out of the nearest Eagles fan's mouth? But you may not know that the first baseball stadium was built in Pittsburgh in 1909. It was called Forbes Field, and the Pirates played there. The Pirates actually won the World Series that year. It was one of the few times the Pirates were any good. The chocolate capital of the world is in Hershey, PA. This is where they make all sorts of candy. Stuff like peanut butter cups, Kit Kats, chocolate bars, and of course, Hershey's Kisses. They make 70 million Hershey's Kisses every single day here. It's one of the most popular tourist stops in the whole state. Philadelphia is home to a lot of firsts. We mentioned the first American flag was made here. The first computer was here too. It was called ENIAC and it was built in 1946. It was massive, but memory-wise, it only held about as much information as a single text message today. Boop! The first piano in America was built in Philadelphia in 1775. These things were called piano fortes back then, and they were originally invented in Italy. That's cool. Italy invented the piano. Our nation's first daily newspaper was published in Philadelphia in 1784. It was called the American Weekly Mercury. It cost 5 cents. Benjamin Franklin created the country's first public zoo in Philadelphia, and now Philadelphia is a zoo, which is just sad and terrible. And the nation's first hospital was built in Philadelphia in 1751. That's a lot of firsts in Philadelphia, people. Of course, we've heard of Punxsutawney Phil. He lives in Pennsylvania. He's a groundhog, and he predicts if winter's going to continue or not based on if he sees his shadow or not. Well, this groundhog isn't very good at predicting the weather. It's only been accurate about 38% of the time. For one season in 1943, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers merged to form the Steagles because they didn't have enough players during World War II. They went 5-4-1 that year, but got third place in their division. Not too bad, Steagles. Here's what their uniform looked like. Little League Baseball's first World Series was held in 1946 in Williamsport, and they hold the Little League World Series here every year now, but not in 2020 because, COVID. That's funny because COVID came from China. So by giving everyone COVID, they denied themselves a chance to beat everybody else for like the 20th year in a row. Pennsylvania has the highest Amish population in the world outside of the state of Ohio. Kennett Square, PA, it's a small town and a small borough down near the Delaware border. It's considered the mushroom capital of the world because they harvest 5 million pounds of mushrooms here every year, which is half of all of mushrooms grown in this country. And that's a fact. A guy named Pat Oliveri invented the famous Philly cheesesteak sandwich in the 1930s. This guy sold hot dogs in South Philly, and one day he decided to put grilled beef on the rolls instead. And once he added cheese to his sandwich, it became a real hit. And finally, the worst nuclear accident in U.S. history occurred in 1979 on 3 Mile Island near Harrisburg. Basically, part of the nuclear reactor core melted. A bunch of people ran and nobody died, but years later, there were a bunch of cancer cases in the area, and that's really sad. And now it's time for How Smart is Pennsylvania? I'm going to call some Pennsylvania people and find out if they can answer some tough Pennsylvania questions.
I like trivia time.
I ask people who live in their state if they can answer some trivia questions about their state. And there's 5 questions. They're kind of hard, but they're kind of like maybe not that hard. I know you're not originally from there, so if you don't get them right, no one's going to judge you. But I figured maybe we just give it a chance and see if you can get any of these trivia questions. You want to give it a shot?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I promise not to cheat.
Okay. Yeah. No Googling. Okay. So the first question is, so the first ever baseball stadium was built in Pittsburgh in 1909. Do you know the name of the team that played, the original name of the team that played in that stadium in 1909?
I'm gonna guess Steelers.
What? Steelers? I thought everybody in Pennsylvania was a sports nut. There goes that stereotype. Dude, you better learn your sports quick, or you're going to get made fun of by a lot of people in Pennsylvania. And you grew up in Pennsylvania. So if it's okay, maybe we could, there's 5 questions. We'll see if you can get them right.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is the first ever baseball stadium was built in Pittsburgh in 1909, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the name of the team that played there? The original name of the team?
What's the name of the team? Oh man, I'm not a baseball person. Oh man, it's a tough one for me. I know it wouldn't be the Pirates. I'm just gonna go on a limb here. The Colts? No, probably not it.
Yeah, well, it is actually the Pirates.
Oh, okay.
I know you'd think that it would be like some goofy name like the Horse Clotters or the Amish. But I mean, no, it was the Pirates. They were the Pirates in 1909 when the stadium opened. Yeah, they hadn't changed their name, and they actually won the World Series that year too.
Nice.
Hershey, you should maybe get this one right. So Hershey, PA, which is not too far from you. You've been there, I think you said, right?
Yes.
So it's the chocolate capital of the world. They make all this chocolate. Can you tell me what the best-selling brand of Hershey chocolate is? Like which of their candies do they sell the most of every year?
It's going to either be the Hershey Kiss or Hershey Chocolate Bar. I would have to say I'm going to go with the chocolate bar.
No, it's the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Oh man, the peanut butter cup. I used to love those growing up.
I know. I had to go get one just to do this, so I'm going to actually eat that.
Go right ahead.
I want to say it is the Hershey chocolate balls that are wrapped in that aluminum, and there is like paper sticking out of them. The ones that look like drops.
Oh, the Hershey's
Water
Kisses.
drops. Hershey's Kisses. Yeah, I think those are the ones.
That's not actually. They make 70 million of those a day. But
Mhm.
it's actually not the highest, the most popular selling.
Really?
It's actually the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
What? They own that?
Yeah. Okay, so you know about Punxsutawney Phil, the Groundhog Day thing?
Yes, I know the second famous groundhog. Yes.
Okay. So you know how it works, right? The groundhog comes out, and if it sees its shadow, it means winter's going to be longer. If it doesn't see its shadow, it means winter's going to end earlier.
Mhm.
You know about that? Okay.
Yes, I do.
Do you think it's seen its shadow more times or not seen its shadow more times?
I think he's not seen his shadow more times, especially based on Pennsylvania, based on weather here.
No, he's seen his shadow almost 100 of the 120 times, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, and I learned some other trivia. Like, I was trying to Google how many Punxsutawney Phil groundhogs have there been.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there's no answer because they never tell you when it's, like, a different one.
Yeah.
Like, according to local lore, it's, like, the same one. It's been around for, like, 127 years.
Yeah.
And so, clearly, they only live 8 years. So there's been many of them, but they don't ever tell you, like,
Yeah.
this is a new one this year.
Yeah, no, they're not going to tell you.
So Philadelphia was home to the first type of musical instrument, right? Like the first ever of this type of musical instrument was built in Philadelphia. What musical instrument do you think that was?
Electric guitar.
No, it was a piano.
Whoa. Okay.
I'd have to say a violin.
It's a piano.
Piano. That was going to be my guess. I grew up playing piano.
Oh, man. Come on, man.
First guess.
Okay, so last
city.
question.
Mm-hmm.
So you just moved to Philadelphia, what? You said 5 months ago?
Yes, February 16th.
Okay, that's very specific. Have you had a cheesesteak yet?
Yes.
Okay, what did you think of the cheesesteak?
They're tasty. I like them. There's actually a big competition for which one's the best or which one's the most famous one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the guy who invented the cheesesteak, this is like in the 1930s or something. He used to actually sell something else, and then he switched over and changed some stuff, and it became a cheesesteak. What was the original thing that he used to sell before he invented the cheesesteak? What would your guess be?
He sold bread. He was a bread maker. So he was
close.
he was at a bakery. Yeah.
Kind of close. He was a hot dog vendor.
Hot dog vendor. Okay.
Sub sandwiches. Sub sandwiches. So I used to know this because I just down at Pat's. She had Pat's and Geno's. I used to know this.
Hot dogs.
Hot dog. That's right, hot dogs.
He used to sell hot dogs, and then he changed it and put the different meat in there, and it got popular, and off he went.
Overnight. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna show the internet how I got 0 out of 5.
Yeah, I will show it the internet. But you're new, and no one's really gonna. They'll give you a break.
It's time for Pennsylvania news. I'm Skip Fritzman.
Thanks, Skip. There's a lot of interesting news coming out of the state of Pennsylvania these days. Here's just a little sample of the headlines here. So this scientist invented a robot and wanted to do an experiment. He called it a hitchbot, and the whole point was to see if they could trust that random Americans would pick this robot up and take it to a drop-off point. The goal was to see if it could hitchhike its way across the country, assisted by nice, kind Americans. Well, Hitchbot began in Massachusetts, and it was going pretty good until it got to Philadelphia. Philadelphia ruined it. Apparently some Philly people picked up the nice little robot and vandalized it beyond repair. That's right, after only 2 weeks, the experiment was over. Thanks, Philadelphia. The Philadelphia residents who destroyed Hitchbot even sent pictures of the damage to the scientists who invented it to brag about how they had destroyed it. Who does that? Now, we mentioned Gettysburg earlier. This is the most famous Civil War battleground site. Well, not too long ago, locals were driving through Gettysburg and they saw ghosts running on the side of the highway. Check this out. I haven't really ever seen a good, compelling ghost video before, but you can clearly see these apparitions kind of appearing out of nowhere and then running off into the fog. One of them even appears to run through a cannon. Apparently, the people who shot this video heard some strange noises and then saw some weird fog banks, and then they started recording and captured this. More than 50,000 people died here, so you may not be surprised that there's ghosts running around. However, who knows what's really going on? I mean, right next door in New Jersey, somebody said they saw a UFO, and it was just the Goodyear blimp going to a football game. LOL emoji. This video brought to you by Mike's Barbecue. On Route 32 in Williamsport. Come on down, we got some great food. That's Mike's Barbecue. There's a lot of rednecks here in PA, I'll tell you that. Well, just recently, police had to use a rope to corral a drunken Pennsylvania man who was riding his mower, and he had a box of beer. That's right, and the guy was 3 times over the legal limit. You can get a Dewey on a riding mower, even in the state of Pennsylvania. This all happened in Washingtonville, a little borough in Montour County, sort of by Williamsport. But it's not just the rednecks getting after it in the Pennsylvania hillsides. No, I'll tell you that. Just this spring, an Amish teenager was arrested for driving his buggy while drunk. He crashed it into a ditch and got into some major trouble. So yes, you can get a DUI on an Amish buggy. There's actually a lot of drunk Amish teenager buggy stories in this state if you Google it. I recommend you do just that. And on a serious note, if you're thinking of moving to Pennsylvania, well then you're in rare company. According to the latest census, which just came out, Pennsylvania didn't lose people, but it was the 6th slowest growing state of all. Only 5 other states grew at a slower rate than Pennsylvania did over the last decade. You can see on this map that much of the northern and western part of the state's shrinking fast. However, because Illinois actually saw its population decline, Pennsylvania was actually able to pass Illinois and become the 5th most populated state in the nation. Why is Pennsylvania's population slowing down so much? Because much of Pennsylvania is trapped in old economies, manufacturing and energy sectors that have been outsourced overseas or eliminated completely. Pennsylvania is going to have to figure out the new job growth thing and spend some money to improve these dying communities, or much of the state's going to continue to decline. Founding fathers, they were awesome. I sure like to eat some chocolate. Amish people crashing buggies. Pennsylvania needs more money. All right. So you live in Harrisburg?
That's right. I live in Harrisburg, the capital of Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Tell people what it's like in Harrisburg.
It's pretty chill. It's an okay city. I live more so south of the city. People who are local to me, I tell them I live closer to Hershey. I enjoy it. I've been here all 27 years. Not much really do here, but if you love the outdoors, there's really that. We're about 3 hours, 3 hours on a good day from New York City, about 2 hours from DC, about an hour from Baltimore and Philly. So it's also that. That's really the benefits of living here. It's pretty chill, nice place, pretty okay place to raise a family, I'd say.
So for people that are thinking about maybe moving to Pennsylvania, where are like 3 or 4 or 5 like maybe hidden gems or unknown places that you think are great that people could consider moving to in Pennsylvania if they want a safe, quiet place to raise a family that's not too expensive? Where would you tell people to maybe move in your state?
Well, for one, I tell them State College. State College is a area that people know for Penn State. Obviously, State College is home to Penn State. I'd say State College is one area. Again, I'm also going to go a little more rural. So I think also Chambersburg area is pretty good because you're close to Baltimore and DC at that point. Relatively inexpensive to live there. The outskirts of Harrisburg, I would say. More so if you head a little bit north, closer to Upper Dauphin. But I live in the Central Dauphin region. I'd say that's an okay place to consider as well. Chester County, where I actually went to Lincoln University out in Chester County. I'd say consider there because, again, you're within proximity to Philly, about 50 minutes. That'd be another area. So Westchester, Oxford area. I think really there, I would have to say I don't really know much about the Pittsburgh area. I've only visited a bit, but that's another good area to consider as well. I would say Pittsburgh, Chester County, Harrisburg, because I'm from there. And I would also probably would want to throw in Hershey as well, greater Hershey area.
Where would you tell people do not move in your state?
Well, I would say do not move to, some of the dying cities, such as Reading, unfortunately. And now, I'm sure it will rebound at some point. It's nice to visit because, again, you're outside of Philadelphia, but I would say avoid there. Avoid inner city Harrisburg. Uptown's nice, though. I will say uptown region, especially for someone my age, 2030s, you could find a lot to do in the uptown, midtown region of Harrisburg, I'd say. But although I'd say avoid inner city to move there. Obviously, some of the outskirts of Pittsburgh might be a little bit off, such as I'm drawing a blank on the names because
McKeesport.
Like McKeesport might be a little bit tough.
Mickey's Rocks,
yeah, just those areas outside of the Pittsburgh metro region. I don't really want to say York, but outskirts of York can be pretty good, except for inner city. But they're really trying hard to clean that area up, I would say.
I've heard Erie is. Now, I drove through Erie, and the outskirts were really pretty, rolling countryside. They got the lake up there. I didn't really see too much of Erie proper. I've heard bad, and I've heard a little bit of good. Would you say it's more bad than good or more good than bad in Erie?
I really don't have an opinion either way since I don't know many people from that area. However, I can imagine it's probably a mixed bag, just like the city of Harrisburg, more so the city where if you want to find trouble, you'll find it. Because that's really been my experience thus far with the state of Pennsylvania and every state I've gone to. Because I've been to Philly plenty of times, and if you want to find the trouble, you'll find it. If you want to have a good time and be safe, you'll be safe. So I really can't say either way to that. But
are you gonna live in Pennsylvania for the rest of your life? You think?
I think I will. I sometimes complain about being here, but I really think that I will end up settling down here. For the rest of my life, because again, I love the outdoors. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm usually outside a lot. So there's plenty of that right here in almost in the center of the state. Lots of woods. You had more east, you have more city, you had more west. Well, Pittsburgh is that way. I think I will because I do enjoy the privacy. I enjoy the stability as well. And if I want to go to a major city, I just hop on the highway or hop on a plane. I could be on the other side of the United States within a couple of hours. So I think personally, I will. I might leave for a little bit. Maybe for a couple years just to see other places, to live there, but I could see myself staying here.
Well, so give people an idea. So you like Philadelphia. Philadelphia gets a bad rap for being high crime, bad areas.
It is. No, it is. It's true. Like if you go to North Philly, if you go to the far ends of West Philly, don't go to camp. Like, it's just there are certain pockets of Philly here that is high crime. It's poverty, litter, crumbling infrastructure. And then where I'm from, San Francisco, we have that too. Like we have the Bayview Hunters Point, like Bayshore neighborhood that has the same thing going on. If you go to Oakland, just across the bay, East Oakland, if you go towards near the stadium, what's it called? Called the Coliseum.
Oh yeah, I've
That
been
whole
there
area.
before. That's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like every major city has a lot of impoverished neighborhoods with high crime and drug problems and gangs and violence. Philly has it too, but I'm not in that neighborhood and I don't go there.
Hmm.
No, like why I chose Philly is I could afford property here. But it's a mixed crowd. Like you'll see international like people, people who moved here for work from another country. You'll see families, like immigrant families raising their kids. The gays, like everyone. Yeah. Here there is an Armenian community. Here there is a gay community. Here there are 5 people who I'm already friends with. And there's other things that attracted me to Philly, like it's historic, the architecture, the food scene, it's walkable, transportation is decent. It has certain level of greenery. The riverfronts are pretty. I like the city as a whole. But of course, there's litter, crime, pollution. There is traffic. I mean, it's depends on like what time of the day and where you're going. Yeah, but it's definitely not a perfect place, and it's not a place that I would recommend people to raise kids. Like if you were to ask me, should I raise my kids in Philly? I would say in the Montgomery County or the Delaware County, but not in the city of Philly.
Yeah, I think that was very helpful. I was going to ask you that. So yeah, I mean, everybody wants to know where can I move?
Yeah.
Especially right now, everyone's trying to, musical homes. Everyone's moving around and stuff.
Yeah. But the market is booming and it's rising rapidly. The values are going up.
Yeah.
And a lot of money from New York City and DC is flowing here. And Baltimore and Wilmington get dodged because they are in worse situation. They just have crime higher, like they have opioid crisis higher. So Wilmington and Baltimore get dodged, but a lot of DC money and New York money is flowing into Philly, and it's gentrifying the city rapidly. There are several pockets that are gentrifying. It looks very different. Like my boyfriend's mom, who went to university here, when she was visiting, she's like, yeah, the neighborhood you live in, we wouldn't like go to ever. Like we, yeah, but now you see, people, you see yoga studios, you see pressed juice stores, you see people walking around in athleisure, like with their dogs. It's a whole new, like you wouldn't believe what it used to be.
Yeah, but it's still, they have a long way to go before you recommend anybody moves here to raise a family.
You could raise kids in my neighborhood, but the public schools suck. So no, like don't send them to public school. And if you want a big yard where you can have your kids play in a big yard, this is a row home with a small deck patio place to hang out. Your kid is not gonna have a tree house here. You could put like a basketball hoop, but they're not gonna have a large space. Or if you want a family with a dog, it's not ideal to have a dog in a row home. Garages are not common in Philly. That's a problem, in my opinion. It's just easier to pull up into your garage versus looking for parking. I do want to have kids in the future, but I don't want to raise them in like South Philly. As a young man, I want to be in South Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think that was really helpful. I think there's a lot of people that were probably hoping when they watched this, they'd actually learn some information that wasn't just silly facts and history, that was like actually like relevant to their lives. And there you go.
Philly is awesome. Like it really is. It does have a lot of positivity to it, just like San Francisco, where I'm from. But there are negatives to every place.
Yeah, no one's perfect. And that's a lot of stuff about Pennsylvania. Goodbye. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great! You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more. You can also now buy my songs on iTunes and other formats. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. And remember, while we all might have different views, we should all be nice to each other and try to make the U.S. a better place in a positive way.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Cornerhouse Entertainment production.
And are you looking to move and need advice? I do consulting. That's right. I'll sit down and talk about where the next perfect place for you and your family should be. I do it all the time. Together, let's find you a new home that's safe and checks all your boxes. You can get my email in the description to find out how I can help you find your perfect relocation. And I can also help you find your new house too. Email me and I'll work with you on not just helping you figure out where to move, but I can help you find your perfect home too. That's right, someone's a realtor now. Who wants to deal with a realtor they don't know when you can have me help you, right?